In the letter of St. James, we hear some very simple advice. My brothers and sisters, do not try to combine faith in Jesus Christ with the making of distinctions between classes of people. Do not try to combine faith in Jesus Christ with the making of distinctions of the classes of people. The letter goes on to criticize the attitude which presumes that a rich man who enters the synagogue with a ring glinting its own message deserves more attention than the poor man who enters at the same time. If preference is going to be made, it should reflect the declared preference of God, who chose the poor who are poor according to the world to make them rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom of God. God's preference for those who are poor according to the world is exactly what happens in today's gospel. Jesus comes face to face with a man who has a speech impediment and who's deaf. The man is doubly afflicted. First of all, he's a Canaanite and not a Jew, and therefore the Jews would consider him to be unclean. And secondly, he has a handicap. Jesus takes him aside, away from the crowd, and he cures his deafness and his stutter. And Mark makes a point of telling us that the people declared that everything that Jesus did was done well. Out of his infinite passion, Jesus' love is available to everyone without any presuppositions or any conditions. He's not disconcerted by the handicapped, neither is he prejudiced against those that do not share his race or his religion. His own uniqueness is not employed to lord it over others, but is used in the service of others. In his presence, no one has to hide their handicap. No one has to remain isolated in this wordless world. And no one has to be rejected because of their indifference. Jesus' acceptance and love is open to all sorts of new possibilities. There is nothing settled. There is no limit to what God can do. Prejudice, on the other hand, tries to settle everything. Jesus knows that people shrink under indifference, are wounded by prejudice, and are hurt when they are rejected. Prejudice handicaps everyone it touches. It allows fear to dress up as social and religious propriety. It sneaks its way into our laws. It is a killer disease. It's always good to remember that whomever we meet today, that God loved them first. So let us be challenged by these words of wisdom. Our first task in approaching a people of another culture, another religion, is to take off our shoes, for the ground on which we stand is holy. Else we may find ourselves treading on another's dream. More serious still, we may forget that God was there before we arrived.